Hi, everybody. Good morning to you. I'm very happy. Thank you for having me here. This old uncle, when Dawn asked me whether I wanted to talk to you all, I said, what would I know that little children would be interested in? They won't be interested in this old uncle telling his stories, right? Yeah, but Dawn said that maybe I could share something about what I've been doing, because I'm newly retired. I'm 67 years old, going on 68 this year. So have retired and doing new stuff. So I thought, okay, maybe since I have some, there might be some things that you guys might be interested in, right? Maybe just a little bit about what I've been doing, and then I'll share about my journey, how I got there, as all of you will be interested in, because everybody will ask you, right, one day, what do you want to be when you grow up? Of course, the answer to that should be, I want to be kind. I want to be compassionate. Yeah. But of course, there are also other things like, what do you want to do actually, or what do you see yourself doing? So I would like to share a little bit about what I wanted to do when I grew up. Yeah. I started life after graduating from the university. I sort of worked in the SIA group of companies for 10 years and moved to different areas. Well, I didn't fly a plane. I wish I could, but I didn't choose that method that way. But I worked in the ground services. When you fly, I don't know if any of you have flown before. Of course, not during the last 2 years, yeah. But you have flown, you will go and get a ticket, right? You go and check-in counter, you bring your bags there, you checked in, yeah. Those were my areas of interest. I was the one who issued the ticket at the boarding pass, rather. I'm the one who sort of makes sure that your luggage gets on board. I'm the one who makes sure your luggage gets to the other side on time, so that you have your clothes to wear and so on. Yeah. So I did that for 10 years. And of course, that's just a very quick thing. I also did a bit of computer analyzing and so on. Then after 10 years, it got very boring for me. I think it will also be boring for you chaps, because can you imagine just sitting in an office day in and day out, writing letters, answering phone calls, and that's it, I felt that the mind was going to like there's nothing new, nothing exciting at all. It's not that I didn't do my work. I did my work pretty well, I think, because they keep on promoting me every year. But I felt that there was more that I could do. And so I moved into, and then at that point of time, this was the 1980s, something came up, something called desktop publishing. Desktop publishing, and of course, today, everybody can publish off self-publish off a notebook. But in the old days, in the 80s, desktop publishing was very new. It's as new to us now as Instagram, is to you, or Snapchat, or, this kind of stuff, right? So I thought I would go into that, because I had always been interested in books, in reading and in books. I don't know why, but when I was younger, 4 or 5 years old, I thought, I felt that because in those days, there's nothing much to do, right? Everything was very boring. So I thought I would read books, to get to understand what other people were doing, about life in other areas, in other countries and so on. And last time, well, I mean, I hate to tell last time stories, because last time policemen also wear shorts, right? But now, and I know it can sound a bit like, wow, your parents telling you last time like that, last time like this, yeah. So it's not that kind of a last time story, but just I want to share with you. In the old days, there was no MRT. There were very few taxis, and we actually had just one single bus going along one lane, right? And there was only one library. National Library, right? And so to get at the books, we had no books. Our parents couldn't buy books, couldn't afford to buy books for us. So what do? We had to go to the library to read books, right? But now the library is at your doorstep. You can just take a bus there. But in those days, I walked all the way from Bishan, to the National Library at the Stamford Road. This is a distance of like maybe I can only count in terms of miles because I'm still stuck in the old, but I don't use kilometers. So it was like something like about 5-6 miles, which is about maybe 9-10 kilometers. I don't know, 1 times 1.6, right? Yeah, I can't do the math. But anyway, it's about 9-10 kilometers. So I was already doing 10,000 steps every day or every weekend, walking all the way to the library just so that I can read a book. Today, we are all so lucky, right? The books are in our house, it's all there, we don't read it. So in the past, the problem was that we didn't have enough information. But today, we have too much information. So you are reading something on your mobile phone, maybe, for example. I don't know if your parents allow you to use mobile phones. Yeah. But the next moment, another headline comes on and you are distracted. You keep on wanting to find new information and you don't spend enough time analyzing the information that you have read. And so this is the issue. This is a problem that sometimes lead to us misunderstanding or hearing what we call fake news, right? Fake news. What is fake news? We have to differentiate between that. Anyway, that was a story. That's a story why I have that kind of interest in reading and books, right? And so because of that, when I came out, when I decided to, when desktop publishing came along and I decided to go out and do desktop publishing, obviously we would have to look at producing books as well. And that gave me such a rush, such an adrenaline rush, I said, wow, it's great. I can now produce books, things which inspired me in the past. And so I went into it. And I spent the last maybe 33, 34 years, maybe, doing this thing before I retired, yeah, which was firstly to do desktop publishing in order to produce books. And then I went into publishing itself. Publishing meaning that I take books. People, some of you may have a manuscript, for example. You may be inspired. You read a book and then you say, hey, I can do a bit better than that. Or hey, I think there is something that I can add to this story, which the writer did not have. Or you may have this curiosity, what would happen if this person had done that, in this book, and you want to you want to express that. Sorry, there's one, Adam, he asked what kind of software did I use? Okay, maybe I'll just entertain him once. You can ask all the questions you want later, okay? But this is just to give you the background. Adam, just to answer you, because you asked what software I use and you can't hold the question. Well, I use something called, wait for it, PageMaker. Never heard of it, right? Yeah, don't forget this in the 1980s. I don't think some of you were not even born yet. In fact, many of you were not even born yet. It's something called PageMaker, right? Of course, now we use something called Adobe InDesign. So software, like everything else, grows. Like you will grow, right? So this software also grows to become better and better versions. And so you will also grow, I hope, into better and better versions of what you are now, right? Okay, anyway, coming back to this thing. So for the last 30 years, I've been doing that. And some may ask, wow, you're not bored, man? So boring. Every time, just every day, publish books. Well, let me ask you this question. When you go to the library and start looking at books. Are you bored? No, right? You run through, you pick up every book you can find, you try to run through every story you can, and so on, right? Well, that's exactly what happened with me. I sort of like, people were sending me so many manuscripts for publishing into books that I sort of like found it so exciting, I never was bored, firstly. Secondly, when you are working with a group, with a team of people, like you guys will have to work together with people in time to come, right? When you grow up and you start doing your whatever job you may want to go into. Sometimes it can be a job where you work alone, but sometimes you need teams. Now, when you work with teams, right, there are people with different interests, different ideas, and so on. I always find it very enjoyable working with this group of people, listening to their ideas, and working with them to try and make a book real, right? Meaning publish a book. And this is a part where I think all of us, as we grow into better persons of ourselves, in better versions of our younger self, as we grow, one of the things that will help us do this well is actually friendship, teamwork, people who work together with us, and we have to respect what they have to say and deal sometimes with very naughty people. You know, our children, there are some children who are naughty, they don't listen to you, they snatch things from you, they, you know, all kinds of stuff, right? And so the same thing will happen, you know, when you work as a team. And this is the part where we have to learn how to deal with it, how to work with people, rather than getting angry with people and scolding people, fighting with people, snatching things back, you know, not allowing ourselves to be bullied. Yes, you should never allow yourselves to be bullied, but at the same time, we have to do this in a very civil manner. Civil meaning very polite manner. Don't let yourself be bullied, but at the same time, stand up for what you believe to be right? Stand up for your ideas, okay? And also recognize that there are sometimes other people's ideas may be better than yours. Other people may have better ways of dealing with things. And so this is something that will help us to fine-tune our own character, right? And so, had I been successful in chasing this passion? Because a lot of people say, "Alamak, publishing books don't really make a lot of money," right? Okay. Okay, Dawn is asking me whether I have any books that I've shown over the screen. Well, I haven't. I'm afraid I didn't prepare any of those covers and so on. But maybe I can do this later, at a later stage. Because right now I know I'm just a talking head, you know. But it's all right. I will show you some pictures later. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So coming back to this thing, and so what I want to do is to encourage you, if you have a passion for something, just go ahead with it. Because what is success? If everybody says success is having a big house, having a big car, and so on, and having money to spend, going off on travels and trips every other time, I will tell you this: don't think about that, because happiness and success is not in the material things of this life. It's not just in the material things of this life. Material things are important, but you know, following your dream is actually very important as well. Being a good person is also very important as well, right? I will share with you a story, you know, that really inspired me. And this is actually the major story that inspired me during my time when working as a publisher. Okay. Now, I have been very successful in doing my business, publishing books and so on, and doing design, right? And I had a team of 35 people working together with me, 35 friends and team designers and so on. Then one day, it's just like you guys, People see that you have something good going on, right? Your friends see that you have a beautiful toy. He comes to you and say, can I buy it from you? Can I buy it? And he offers you a lot of money to buy it. Would you sell it? This is the point. The same thing happened to me. Somebody came to me and said, wow, you're running. I like the business you're running. I want to buy it from you, you know. And he was going to give me a lot of money that he would have given me. I could have bought 10 HDB houses with it, you know. Yeah. But and I said, so of course I was interested, right? Who isn't interested? The guy is coming around and offer you a lot of money to buy your favorite toy. To buy, even though it's your favorite toy, he wants to buy it. And so I said, okay. I said, let's talk. How much? How many houses can you give me? How many cars can you give me, you know, with this purchase, you know? And then he said, wow, he named me a number, which was fantastic, right? Fantastic. I could have given every one of you here a car, you know, if I had taken the money, right? But anyway, I look at it and I say, okay. I was on the stage of signing the deal and saying, okay, it's yours, you know. And then what happened? He said something. He said, hey, but when you do this, I need only you to be in the company. I don't need all your team. Your team of 35 people will have to be retrenched. I will have to get rid of them. You know what this means? This means that I've worked with you all, you know, let's say all of us here that who are listening to me, we're all working together to make a book, right? And it's a very exciting book, very interesting book. And now somebody comes along and says, I want to buy the book. But all of the team, you people can go away. I don't need them. I only need you, Mr. Fong. I only need you. Wow. When that happened, I looked at it, I said, hey, I have 35 people, you know. I have to get rid of them all. You know why? Because he wants to bring in his team. He wants to bring in his people. He don't want my people anymore. He don't want the team that helped me make this big book, right? And he was going to give me many, many houses and cars just so that I would get rid of my team. What do you think I do? What should I do? Right? Retrench. In other words, I have to retrench on my stuff. If I wanted that money, if I wanted that success, I have to retrench on my staff. These are people who were with me all the way, right? So I thought, and I'm a Christian, so I hope you don't mind if I share with you that I prayed about it, yeah? So I'm a Christian, I prayed about it, I say, Lord, I say, there's this money, big money here waiting for me, you know? And then, but I have to get rid of my team. What do I do, you know? What do I do? And this is where one day, as I was praying, one of the stories in the Bible came to my mind. The story is from 1 Samuel 30, chapter 30. Yeah? Okay, if you don't read the Bible, never mind. I will tell you the story, right? What is this story about? There was a man, a very powerful king called, King David, right? He was he was a man of God. He was a good fighter. He led a big team. He conquered many people. He fought very well, you know, and so on, right? So one day he was at the battlefront and he left his home behind. There were his wives, his children, his cattle, his folk, right? All his property, all his goods. When he came back, when he was away at the battlefront with his 600 men, he had 600 men, his team members with him. When he came back, he found that his enemy had come in and burned down his whole village, his whole town. It was a town called Zidak, okay, but I won't tell you about it. And he had taken away all his children, all his wives, all his cattle, all his folk. So of course, what's the thing he did? I got to get it back, right? Of course, I'm telling you a very simple story, but actually the story is a bit more complex than that. I want to give the point, right? He said, I got to get it back. So with his 600 men, he chased after the enemy to take back his toys, his goods, his wives, his children. Then they arrive, they walk for many days, right? Many hours. And then they arrive at a brook. We call it a stream or a brook, B-R-O-O-K, right? And then 200 of his team members said, I can't carry on. I'm very tired. This is a group of you, right? Let's say, oh, this whole team of you. Let's say we are all together trying to get something, achieve something. And then suddenly Sonika, Caroline, Zhen Jing, Ye Quack, Valerie tells me, oh, I can't make it anymore. I can't go on anymore. I need to rest. What happens? But you got to get back the other children. You got to get back your goods, right? So the others say, we still have a bit of strength. We can carry on. So 400 went over. 200 stayed behind at the brook to look after the luggage. Okay? So it's like, well, a group of you decided to stay back or cannot go further because you are tired. You stayed back. So they went, and the 400 of them, to their great success, they managed to get rid of the enemy and retrieve everything that the enemy had taken from them. The wives, the goods, the children, they saved everybody. And then they came back to the brook. And this is where the problem happened, right? Everybody said, okay, everybody was happy, right? And then there were some people in the team of 400. They said, hey, we not only took back our goods, we took the enemy's goods as well, right? Because those guys went away. So we took their cattle. We took their cattle, means their cows, their sheep, their goats, everything we took. We took their property, their houses, their cars, right? We took everything. But these 200, Sonika, Zhenjing, Valerie, they didn't go. They stayed at the brook. They should only get back what they had. They shouldn't get what the enemy had. Because these ones, we fought for it. Right? Wow. What a lesson. What do you think? Right? Some of them, when they work so-called harder, they work harder, they were stronger, they got more stuff back. But now they are not giving, they're not sharing their stuff with the others who couldn't go beyond. Why? You never worked for it. You didn't work hard for it, right? You couldn't make it. But what did King David do? He stood up and he said, no, my brothers, we cannot do this. We must not do this. We must not do what the Lord has given, do that with what the Lord has given us. Because this is something that the God has given us, And so we must share and share alike. This is very important. The compassion that comes with this passion, with his passion for fighting, with his abilities and all that, that helped him to share everything with the entire team. So Sonika, Zhenjing, Valerie, you get your car as well, right? Not everybody else gets a car. Everybody gets to share, okay? So what happens? When I read that story, I started to cry. Because this was what this man who came along to offer me houses wanted me to do. He said, these people, your team, old team is useless. I will bring my new team in, And so that's why today I still have only one house and one car. So of course, No deal. How can I get rid of my friends? How can I get rid of my team who have been working with me on all this, right? So, and that is the part, you see, the passion, the part that made me want to do books, because I can tell you this man who came in to buy my business, so to speak, he would have been able to do a very good job. I'm pretty sure of it. Okay, because he has a lot of money. But I felt that the value was wrong, right? And I wanted to preserve that. And so passion for what you want to do must never be overruled by doing the wrong thing. It must always be controlled and titrated. Well, I'm using two big words. Sorry, Don. It must always be controlled by thinking about your friends, about compassion, about what made you where you are, by thinking about by thinking about your blessings. You know, for me as a Christian, this was a blessing given to me by God. I cannot sell my blessing away. Okay, I cannot betray my friends, right? I gotta make sure everybody can have the fair share of what they do. All right. Okay, so that's how it happened. And I wanted to share that particular story because that defined me, and it kept me poor, you know, for the rest of my for the rest of my work in publishing. Yeah, but today I'm happily retired, you know, and I have got 4 grandchildren who are all your ages. I hope one day you'll be friends with them as well. You know, I can introduce them to you, and you'll be friends with them as well, right? And so, yeah, in my retirement, my concern for books is still there. My love for books is still there, and I want to show you something that I started. Okay, Don, this is where the pictures come in. I want to show you something where a bookshop that I started with 4 other retirees. Okay. So if you will let me indulge myself, okay, I'll share the screen. Okay, so this is Dakota Dreams, a bookshop that you see the 5 of us, the 2, 4, 5 of us have set up. These are volunteers. They are all retirees or semi-retirees. Because of our love for books, we thought that we would set up a little bookshop at Dakota. This is the old airport hawker center. Please encourage your parents to bring you there to have a meal, and then come upstairs and visit us. You know, we will be, when COVID is over, or when the restrictions are over, you of course you can come now to look at the books. But when restrictions are over, you can come up and we'll be sharing stories, and we'll be sharing workshops and things to do and so on, right? Okay. Yeah, let me just move on. See, this is what happens. This old lady, she was very happy. She came by and sat by with us to of course, we sell handicrafts as well. You can see we made this New Year fans, right? And then this old man, he was interested in looking at the book here, right? This is a book about Dakota. And so because he lives in Dakota, he decided that he wanted to come and take a look at it. Yeah. And of course, this is when the 5 of us, we decided to share New Year goodies with our fellow store holders. That means, in other words, all the people around who were selling things in the shop, not in our shop, but in the area. We went around during during Lunar New Year and gave away oranges and other goodies. Unfortunately, we didn't give money away because we didn't have enough. But then what we did was that we gave all the goodies, yeah. And then yeah, these are bookstores. You can see we've got all kinds of books, comics, you know, there are books on the environment and so on. And it's a very it's not the kind of bookshop like Kinokuniya or very nice bookshop. It's really right in the heart, in the heartlands, with people who are not really who don't really go to bookshops like Kinokuniya and MPH or Times or Books Actually, you know, but people who just want to sit down for a while, rest, and look at the book, you know. And of course, a lot of children come by too, you know. You see this little child, she's here. She's I think she's about 10. Wow, when she came in and so look at the book, she bought a lot of books. And we are selling this really at a very cheap rate. Wow, it looks as though I'm trying to make a sale here, but no, I'm not. I'm just sharing that, you know, we sell these are all pre-loved books, right? So they're sold at $1 or $2. It's just so to help people to get involved in reading. That's all. Yeah. Okay. So this is how the bookshop looks like. We have anybody in there, you know. Okay. Yeah. Don, you were asking about the books, whether any books that we publish. If you take a look at this, okay. Let me see whether I don't think I can enlarge. Oh, I can. Okay. These are the books, some of the book titles. Monster, Nunu, the Monster, Blair. These are the books that we have done. Little Grass Rice, Little Rice Grass, Little Tea Leaves, you know. I'm sorry, it's not very sharp, but you know, that's why I want to encourage you to go down to the shop. Go down to the shop and look at the books yourself. Yeah. Take your time, you know, we are open 11 to 5, anytime. Just get your mom or dad to send you there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I will stop sharing now. All right. Okay. That's it. I am done. I don't know if you have questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Okay. Grace had a sorry, I'm just picking it off the Sabrina, do you want to moderate this?
Go ahead to take the questions from the chat, or
okay.
Yeah, they can unmute themselves to ask their questions.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Shall I? Yeah.
Yeah, Grace has questions here.
Okay.
Do you still publish books? Okay.
Oh, do I still publish books? Unfortunately, I don't, because as I said, I've retired. It's the ethos team. That's my team. I left the team intact. They are continuing to do their things, but I don't publish anymore. However, if somebody really has a passion, you know, and give me a car, maybe, give me a nice toy, maybe, and you have a nice story to tell. Well, why not? I mean, I can help you to get it into place and to maybe help you find a publisher to publish it for you. Yeah, we can talk. No problem. Yeah, I'm always free to have a chat. Yeah. In fact, there's a 10-year-old boy who approached me recently, a friend, the son of a friend of mine, and he has written many stories, you know, little stories, and he asked me whether I would publish it. Yeah. Yeah. So I am considering it, but yeah, but if I were to publish it, I can't retire. Oh, why did I start from SIA to publishing? Yeah, thank you for asking a question. Yeah, it's very different. You see, because when I left university, the first thing on my mind was to actually earn money. I had to earn money to support, or not to support, to bring back to the family. Remember, this was in the 80s, 70s and 80s, when Singapore, when parents, or rather when families were still very poor. We were living, we had just come out of the war, and we were sort of like trying to develop into a stronger economy. So the main concern then was to try and find money to support my brothers and sister, and help my father take care of the household expenses. And so because of that, I had to look for a job that paid the best, right? And so I decided, well, SIA at that point of time paid the best. So I decided to go in and collect all the money I could first, you know. So for 10 years, I managed to earn a fair bit and save a fair bit and supported the family. But after that, all was spent on publishing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was a question about I'm an alternative voice in the industry. yes, Dawn asked, she said that, well, what happened is that you are known for your alternative voice in the publishing industry. What was it like to stand up for others whose voice is small? Would you share some of those stories? Okay. Yeah, one of the reasons why I thought that I should share the stories of those people whose voices are not heard, and usually these are the small, the kids, well, not just the kids, but people who are sort of like thrown away by society. Because in Singapore, we only think that, wow, if you do academically well, then you become an important person, and then your voice is important. That is wrong, if you ask me. Yeah, I'm an academic person myself, but I tell you that is wrong. It is not the book studies, that get you where you are. It is what you have to say, the stories you have to share, the experiences that you go through, the things that you struggle for, and because of that, I realized that a lot of voices in the industry, in the publishing industry, is because are the voices of people who are whose books can sell, all right, or who have money to get the books out there. But how about those who don't have money, but who also have a story to share, And so I said, I got to help these people. I have to sort of like let these people's voices be heard. And I tell you, it's been such an enriching journey, such a powerful journey for me. I'll give one example. There was a boy, right? 10 years old. 10 years old. He was autistic. You know what I mean, autistic, right? He couldn't speak, right? He couldn't speak at all. And his parents all the while thought that he could not speak. So even though they tried talking to him and all that, he never spoke a single word. Then one day, he wrote a poem. He wrote a poem, right? And the mother looked at it and said, oh my goodness, this boy, just because he couldn't speak doesn't mean he doesn't think. That it doesn't mean that he doesn't have good thoughts or that he doesn't have emotions and feelings. And the boy was able to express himself so well in his poem, right? So the mother came to me and said, look, there's this poem, I have this son, and shared with me. I look at the poems and I tell you honestly, the first thing I said was to my team, I didn't say it to the mother, I said to my team was, I don't know if it's the mother who wrote the poem or the child, because it was so good. 10 years old. Sorry, in fact, it wasn't 10, he was 7 years old. 7 years old when he wrote the poem, because he's now 10, right? Because this happened some years back, right? So I said, and so you know what we did? Because as publishers, we also have to be have integrity, have to make sure that this is written by whoever who wrote it, right? So we went to the house and we spoke, and we sort of sat down with this boy, interacted with him. He don't forget, he doesn't speak, he still doesn't speak, okay, until we understand. But we spoke to him. He wrote back to us. He wrote on a slip of paper back to us. And when we look at the writing, we look at what he wrote, we knew he had written the poem. It wasn't his mother who wrote for him, right? So I tell you this, we published that. We published that in a small little booklet. And if you guys are interested, I can make some of them available. I think we still have copies of it. But we published it. And I tell you, it was such a revelation to the family, because now they realize that this boy, even though he had not been talking, he had not been able to express themselves with him except through his body language. He actually had a very good thought process going on, and he was able to express himself through writing, and he writes to them nowadays. He expresses himself through writing. So I think there was one big happy family now, and I think you must really, and it showed a mature, the boy at 7 years old, the things he wrote showed a maturity way beyond what you expect from the so-called normal kids who can talk and speak and write. Yeah, he really showed a maturity in terms of his thinking about what he wanted for himself, how he felt as somebody who could not express himself, right? So boys, girls, this thing about language is very, very important. If you are able to, you must cultivate it. You must fine-tune it so that it reflects what's in your head accurately and kindly. I mean, if you can be a kind soul, very kind, very compassionate, but if you are unable to articulate it, you are unable to say it out, nobody knows, right? So that's why it's important to keep reading, to keep writing, to keep trying to fine-tune your language. Yeah. So yeah. So Don, I hope that answers the question. Of course, there are a lot more, but this is too short a session to share that. But I think that story really helped me.
Yeah, thank you. It's very relevant.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, my question was, what are the attributes that you look for before you decide to publish a book? So I mean, obviously in this story it was very clear. It was a boy who had no voice, right? But I mean, most authors are not so unique. How would you decide, oh, this book is worth my team's time? It needs to be shared with the community. And at the same time, I don't know whether you even consider it will help me break even, keep my team afloat. That tension, right? Between
Okay.
How do you make those decisions?
Okay. I'll be very very frank with you. Really, when we publish, out of 100 books we do, probably maybe only 5% will make money. Maybe another 10% will break even. The rest really loses money, And the reason why I was able to do this in the early years with Ethos, Alternative Voice, was because my advertising was actually making quite a bit of money. My advertising design arm, the other business, boys and girls, that I keep saying boys because I only see boys on top of that on my screen, that okay, yeah, boys and girls. So what I use was one part of the business to support the other part of the business, right? And so that worked. But now that I'm retired, and now that we have moved away from advertising and design, that gets a bit tougher, harder, right? And so we have to struggle a bit more with that. But I must say that my team, the team that I put in place after I retired, they are doing a great job. They're doing a great job, of trying to balance this, right? So instead of publishing 20 titles today, we do about 10 maybe, right? Because we can't afford to do all 20. But we make sure that this 10, within this 10, there are enough to keep us going. And so far, thank God, praise him, we have been able to do so for the last 2 years, despite COVID. Yeah. And then what are the things that I chose to publish? What are the things I look for? Really is the small voice, the voice that's never been heard, right? Never been heard in terms of what you call printed on in print form, right? Alternatives, marginalized. These are the voices.
So I don't know very much about the publishing industry, and especially with how things are moving. Like you said previously, even the software is very unknown. Only those in the know will know how to use the software, will know how to publish it. But now with the social media platforms and all the software that is freely available to users alike, how does a publishing company differentiate themselves from a self-publisher? What stops me from just, you know, putting
Publishing
it on
yourself.
PDF and then sending it for free? Like, what does a publishing company bring? What kind of value does it bring, I suppose?
Okay. You're quite right, because the scene has changed a lot. Now there's something called print on demand, Kindle, Amazon, all these guys, they just come on and they do their stuff, right? So you get, nothing will stop an author from self-publishing, right? And actually, if you ask me, to some extent, I'm quite happy about that. Even though as a traditional publisher, I may be losing market share, right? I'm quite happy because it means that the alternative voice is heard. You see, a lot of these self-publishers, they have stories to tell, not enough publishers to tell them, and they can't wait. And I agree with them. Sometimes they have great stories to tell, you know, and we should not deny them that platform. So I'm happy that such a platform has come up. Everybody must have a voice. Everybody must have a stand for whatever needs to be done, you know, on issues and so on, right? So now, how do we differentiate? Traditional publishers differentiate. There are some techniques, some processes that were developed by over the years of publishing that a self-publisher would not be able to enjoy. Or, you know, for example, things like editing, right? We may be very good in English, we may be able to write very well, but I can tell you this, an editor and a writer are totally different, you know. The editor is more, the skill sets, you can edit it, right? So some of these self-publishing companies, they don't edit for you. You just put whatever, you put up your PDF file and you go. If you want editing, they will charge you another sum, and then it's a different thing. It becomes a commercial matter, right? So editing, things like even layout, you know, how you lay out the book, you know, most people now, what they do is that they just do it on Microsoft Word. They don't do it professionally, and then when you want to get it printed, the printing process is another another thing altogether. You know, you need to know what those are and so on. So those are the skills and techniques which a traditional publisher has, which the self-publisher cannot achieve. They can only do it in a certain form, right? And so it really depends on what is your purpose. Yeah. Any more questions from the kids? How long will it take to publish a book? I just saw this out. Okay. Again, it varies from how ready is the manuscript. Whether you are publishing with a traditional publisher or whether you are publishing on your own. If you are self-publishing, then it's pretty fast. You can do it within maybe 3 months even, no? Right? If you're, but you just have to edit to the best of your own ability and so on. But if you are doing it with a traditional publisher, I would say that a good publisher, you would need about maybe anything from 8 months to a year to get the book ready. Especially if the manuscript has to be amended, you know. It's like you sending in your homework for correction, right? So some people correction more, some will have to do less, right? So so I would say a year, anything 8 months or a year. Oh, but have you ever wished you were doing something else when you're publishing books? Wow, that's that's an existential. Well, I will tell you, from me, have I ever wished I was doing something else when I was publishing? I will tell you what I wish I was doing. When I was doing publishing, I was also doing advertising and design. And when I was doing advertising and design, which brought me big bucks, which brought me big bucks, okay? I was wishing I could do publishing. And then when I was doing now that I'm doing publishing, there are different seasons in our life, right? So I actually, well, I've been at it for 30 years, you know. I've never felt the need to do something else. But after I retired, I felt the need to write. I actually want to write a bit more. And so now that's why I have to sort of say that I'm not doing publishing anymore, you know. Yeah, so in that sense, but although I had wanted to write when I was doing publishing, it wasn't as strong as it is now. The feeling is not as strong as it is now. Yeah, so that's why now is to write. Yeah.
I'll just share that Mr. Fong here published Auntie Dawn's book. You all know that? Yeah. So this is a book.
Oh yes, homeschooling. This is a testimony to you guys, you know, to the boys and girls here, you know. It's a great book. It's a bit chim, you know. Don't but yeah.
Thank you so much for that confidence. You're the only one that will publish homeschoolers' voices.
Yeah.
We have one question from Valerie.
Oh, Valerie, how would you inspire would-be writers given the percentage? Okay. Yeah, Valerie, this is a very good question. I think that's one of the reasons why in Singapore, full-time writers can't make a living writing books alone. They have to do other gigs, like example, teach in creative writing schools. They have to give lessons. They have to give talks and charge for the talks, you know, and things like that if they want to do full-time writer. But there are very few full-time writers who have made it. I can think of a few: Felix Chong, Felix Chong, and what you call, he's really hard at it, you know. People like Yong Shu Hung, you know, yeah. But generally, most of them would have a job somewhere else, right? And they are lawyers, they are doctors, they are other things, yeah. So the percentage for writers are very small, but this is where self-publishing may be able to come in. Print on demand. You see, a writer gets only 10% of the sales price of a book, okay? But he or she doesn't have to come up with the upfront cost, all right? Now, if you do self-publishing, you only pay for the printing, and you print only on small volumes. You don't have to print 5,000 copies, 10,000 copies, right? And stash the whole lot under your bed. You print maybe 50 copies, 20 copies, 100 copies first. But you get back easily 60% of the retail price of the book. So that makes a lot of difference. You're 6 times better off. So that's why a lot of people are gravitating towards self-publishing, right? Not just for the voices to be heard, but also because it makes a bit better money.